today we want to tackle a specific topic, the topic of the flood, right? And we want to look at this very carefully, not only from a biblical view, but from a scientific view, and see how everything fits together. You know, a lot of people, even in churches today, have said, maybe we should reinterpret a flood that says it covered the highest hills over all of the earth, a flood that said that it killed every living thing except the things in the ark, a flood that the Bible has clear implications. They said maybe we should do just a little bit of compromise and say perhaps it was a local flood. Maybe it's not too much of a compromise to say that it only killed everything within a Mesopotamian region. But we see an abundance of evidence in the natural world, and we see abundance of evidence when we read what the Bible actually says. Before we get going, we love going out in the street, getting people's opinion, and we ask them a simple question. Do you think that water could have covered the whole earth in the past? This was what we got.
It could have at some point. Whether there's evidence of it for it or not, I don't know.
It's covered largely now. I don't see why it wouldn't be.
I think that it was higher to some extent, but there was always some land.
No, I don't think we're all from amphibians, so I don't think it could ever cover the entire earth.
Yes, I believe that that's actually one of the theories that they have. Because water is definitely where life was created.
Yes.
Why?
Because we found salt crystals on top of Mount Everest, in the Himalayas, and practically everywhere else in the world.
We have found fossils all over the world, haven't we?
Marine fossils.
Mm-hmm. Marine fossils, was that like the Marine Corps?
No.
No, it's true. Marine fossils, like crinoids and other things all over the earth on the highest mountains. Yes. But one lady said, well, we know that we came from amoeba in the ocean, basically, that life sprouted originally from the depths of the ocean. That's how we know life began. What would you say about that?
Yes, God did create life in the oceans on one of the days of creation, day 5 of creation, but he also created many other places. But that's a whole topic in itself, the origin of life. And I love that one. You know why?
Why is that?
We win. We win. Because our best scientists in the world cannot even create one small biological protein. We don't even have to talk about DNA, RNA, and organelles. I like to throw names out like that because people get excited when you say something, and some people do.
And some people glaze over. They're like,
yes,
I have no idea.
So I just talk about the protein.
Okay.
We can't even get one small biological protein with our best scientists in the world. So how could it
form
right
naturally?
We can't even do it in a laboratory very well.
But God
yes.
can. He can create. He can create life.
Yes, he did.
And he did create life. All right, so when someone says something like that, they say, we all know that life originated naturally in the oceans. What key phrases are we missing?
Well, first of all, we all know. That's a logical fallacy there.
Okay.
We don't all know. Because there's a lot of scientists out there that do believe in a worldwide flood, do believe that God created. So that's the first thing.
Okay.
Secondly, most people that make that claim are very unstudied in the issues. Mostly what they've heard of is one side of the story that they give in our public education system called billions of years of time. And that's where they get this we all know, because they haven't heard the real evidence. And I like to say this. What they've heard is evolution, not the science. So I separate those two.
Okay,
not the
there's
same.
a difference.
Yes, there's a big difference.
Excellent, excellent. We want to talk about, was it a worldwide flood, was it a local flood? But we also want to talk about why is it an important issue, okay?
Yes.
Go through a few scriptures with us which give us hints as to whether it was a local flood, worldwide flood, these sorts of things.
Yes, the big issue is an important issue and was a worldwide flood. Rather than go to science, I like to go to the Bible because that's my authority. As Christians, we should always make the Bible our authority. The problem is we have a lot of Christians out there, including our leaders, who don't make the Bible their authority on this issue.
Okay.
So let's go to the scriptures. One of my best chapters in Genesis on the flood is Genesis chapter 7. Now I want to read just 4 different verses here. And we'll start in Genesis chapter 7, verse 19, where it states, And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills under the whole heaven were covered. Wow. Then we can go over to verse 21. We'll skip 20 and go over to verse 21 where it says, and all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle and of beast, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man. Then verse 22, we read, all in whose nostrils was the breath of life, of all that was in the dry land died. Then we can finally finish with verse 23 where it says, and every living substance was destroyed which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle and every creeping thing and the fowl of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. I have a question. If God would have wanted us to know this was a worldwide flood, could he have made it any clearer than this? Look at the repetition of the words, all, every, and whole.
Okay. All the high hills, the whole heaven,
yes,
every man, all flesh, every creeping thing, all in whose nostrils, all that was in the dry land, every living substance, only Noah and those that were in with him in the ark survived.
And the New Testament says only 8 people survived.
Ah.
So the New Testament
makes
bears
it
out.
even more clear.
Exactly.
Okay, so we don't even have to, a lot of people only look at New Testament today, and they forget the amazing things that we can discover in the Old Testament. But you're saying, even if we only looked at the New Testament, Jesus himself spoke of this global flood.
Yes, he did. So the New Testament bears out what the Old Testament says very plainly. This was a worldwide flood. Because when you look at, let me give you an example. Yeah. If I were to take a glass of water and pour it onto a table, what happens when the water hits that table? It spreads out, doesn't it? And it will continue to spread until something stops it.
Okay.
Now, why doesn't the water stay there in a nice, neat little pile? It's called gravity.
Okay.
Gravity is exerting a force on that water, causing it to spread and spread until something stops it. Now let's go back to Genesis 7, where it says the waters covered the highest hills. And gravity is exerting a force on that water, causing it to spread and spread until something stops it.
Okay.
But guess what? There's nothing there to stop it because the Bible explicitly states it covered the highest hills. That means this cannot be a local flood unless we don't believe in gravity.
Wow.
And as a Christian, I believe in gravity.
You have to deny laws in physics in order to believe that this was a local flood.
Or you have to change the Bible.
Wow.
So those are your 2 options.